Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hopefully my audio is coming in clear and you can hear me. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to leave allow a few minutes for others to join in who may still be logging in. Thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat. I see that we have a few new users within the last year. I want to welcome you aboard. Okay, so it looks like we can go ahead and get started. So I'm going to change my screen to our agenda. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see the CTEIS knowledge base on the screen. We're going to go ahead and begin. So this can be found at support.cetis.com. I'm going to pull up our agenda so that you'll know where this information is. So I'm going to type the address into the chat. We're going to hover over the data entry tab and we're going to click the enrollment. This is where our information that we're going to go over is located on our knowledge base. So we're going to go into our new user information section and click the link. And we're going to scroll down. I'm going to break down all of this information in a moment, but to get to our agenda to outline what we're going to talk about, it's down at the bottom of the page, the new user training webinar agenda. Okay, so this is the topics we're going to go over. Again, welcome to the very first training of the 2023-2024 CTEIS year. My name is Dewana McCreary, and I am your presenter for this morning. On behalf of PTD Technology, we'd like to welcome you, and we're going to talk about CTEIS. So our first topic of discussion today, we're going to go over our introduction. That is our support resources and PTD contact information found on support.cetis.com. You may hear us refer to the knowledge base often, and that's what we're referring to is support.cetis.com. So I'm going to go over our support information and resources in just a minute, but that's the first topic. We're then going to go over a CTEIS program overview. And this section is going to describe the CTEIS process, the roles and access and terms. It's a glossary of information that you may encounter when entering in and collecting your CTEIS data. So we're going to go over that program overview information. The next topic we're going to talk about is our CTEIS data collections overview. So the average building level reporter, if that's the role that you have, you will focus on completing 3 reports throughout the course of the year, which is enrollments, expenditures, and follow-up. And we're going to go over these specific collections in detail in just a moment, but that's the 3 reports that you're going to be entering in the information into CTEIS. The 4th topic we're going to go over is the CTEIS data submission. So once you have all of your information that you're going to input into CTEIS and then you've done all of your entries, you have to submit that data. So we're going to go over data submission and review procedures, just an overview. So each district will be required to submit a report indicating all operating programs to OCTE for the upcoming school year. And then once you enter in that data, it generates reports. So your CTEIS reports are available for you to review at any time and is the official data compiled from the entries that you enter into CTEIS database. So we're going to go over that material and where you can find it. The last thing is looking ahead. We know that we're in September, so we're looking forward to our fall data entry. The training for that particular collection begins September 14th, which is this Thursday. You want to make sure to register to attend a webinar if you have not done so already. We go through the procedures of entering in your fall data. That is for the fall course and staff data collection entry, which is due to your CPIT administrator on October 12th. So you want to make sure that you have that data in by that time and then to OCTE by October 19th. So the fall data entry training will go over in depth the information that you need to put in. And then that information is due October 12th and then October 19th to OCTE. So we're going to go over a little bit about an overview of what that consists of. But these are the topics that we're going to go over. And again, this agenda is found on the knowledge base at support.ctis.com. Okay, so we're going to go back here. I'm going to go back to the new user homepage. And as I stated, we're going to go through this information to get you familiar with what CTEIS is, what the process is, and where support resources are. So the very first link we have is our CTEIS support and assistance document. And as I stated, I am here on behalf of PTD Technology, and PTD Technology provides the technical support to districts operating the career and technical education programs. When you hear us say the PTD Help Desk or we'll refer to it as the CTEIS Help Desk, that is who we're talking about. We provide technical support and may answer questions related to the CTEIS application. So the information for the CTEIS Help Desk is always available. That is, you can reach the CTEIS Help Desk by calling or by email. If at any time you fall into any difficulty or you have a technical question, you can contact us and we would be happy to help you, the CTEIS Help Desk. Questions of a technical nature would include, how do I navigate CTEIS? How do I import student records? And how do I send completed reports to the Office of Career and Technical Education? We can answer those questions of a technical nature. If you have questions regarding policy, such as how do I set up my classes? Am I allowed to begin particular collections early? You need to direct those questions to OCTE, and the representative for OCTE is Joan Church. And her information is available in this document, her email, as well as her phone number. You may also find that you can find some of your answers that you may have to your policy questions by using the OCTE website. So that information is there as well. As we go into the different breakdowns of the collection periods, you will notice that there may be different representatives for policy depending on the collection. So for expenditures, that is still Joan Church if you have questions about expenditures. And again, that comes up in October. You can direct those questions regarding policy to Joan Church, same email and same telephone number. As we go closer into November, we're going to be doing our follow-up report. And those questions you're going to contact Inching E, and her email as well as telephone number is there for the follow-up report assistance. Again, if you have policy questions, for technical questions, everyone can contact the CTEIS help desk. I mentioned the support and knowledge base. So when we say the knowledge base, we're talking about support.ctis.com. And there's where you can find all of the resource material that you need for each collection. And that information is broken up. We'll kind of go through it a little bit as we go through our topics. But remember that you can always find this information at support.ctis.com. Today's presentation, as well as other recordings of the webinars, can be found on our YouTube channel. So if for whatever reason you're not able to, if you're having technical issues or if you're not able to get your computer together for webinars, for instance, you can view these webinars on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We post those not too long after the training, as well as all of our tutorials and videos that we have for each collection period. You can also find those on YouTube. So that's the description there. If you want to follow us on YouTube, you can do that. But we do house all of these videos on our actual support site. So support.ctis.com. And I'll show you where those videos are. So it is posted here as well. But just so you would know, you can find that information on the YouTube channel. We also have our CTEIS listserv. That is the way that we communicate with you. So if we have any information regarding CTEIS, if there's updates, if there's maintenance that's going on, we would contact you through the listserv. And if you have not already joined the listserv or received emails from the listserv, we would encourage you to reach out to Jackie Martinez, and her email information is there. And again, it just provides the relevant information regarding CTEIS via email. So please reach out to her if you haven't done so already. So this was all of our assistance, both technical and policy. So please make note of those. To access CTEIS, you will have to have My Login access. So we're going to just briefly overview this. My Login for CTEIS, and it is the state of Michigan single login software that allows users to access CTEIS. If you haven't signed up for My Login, this is just a breakdown of how to sign up. It gives the My Login for third-party address. So you would go here, fill out the information in the fields. You would then need to contact your level 5 fiscal agent with your user ID so that your information can be linked in the system. And then once you get that information squared away, you would then request access. And then you would go back in and fill out the information here to request access. And then from there, your information would be processed. You should get a message that you're being processed. Again, this is if you haven't already been given your credentials for CTEIS. So you do have to have My Login to input any data into CTEIS. So now we're going to go over our current due dates. I've already mentioned the fall data due date. But this is just upcoming due dates for your convenience. We take them right off of the OCTE official calendar and we put them in the module here so that you'll have easy access to them. But it's the same dates. So fall course and staff collection, again, due October 12th and October 19th. When we go for looking forward, our expenditure report is due November 2nd and then to OCTE November 9th. The follow-up report is due January 11th. This is when you're going to survey past students or students who have graduated about your programs. That information is going to be due in January. We have information regarding match dates. All of this information would make sense as we get closer to the spring collection. And that spring collection, and that's your course data, your students, your enrollments, your credentials and work-based learning, all of that information is due in June. So this fall data that we have coming up in a couple of weeks is just your class and your staff. But in June, we're going to need all of your information regarding your courses. If you have CPIT options access, and this is something that you would already have, you are going to be turning in your CPIT options information to OCTE by June 6th. And then there's additional credential reporting that's also, it's in June, but then you also have the final reporting that's due the end of August. So again, this is just a reflection of the OCTE calendar. If you have any questions regarding the dates or extensions, or if you need more time, you need to contact OCTE directly. And again, that representative, depending on the collection, could be Joan Church or Inchin E for the follow-up. Not to skip any links, but this is just a recap of what I've already been saying about the support.ctis.com, what's available and how you can view it. So we've already covered that. So now we're going to go into more of our in-depth information regarding our CTEIS software. So the CTEIS program overview. So here is our first topic. We're going to describe what CTEIS is for our new users. If you haven't been into the application yet and haven't entered in any data, CTEIS is the web-based application that allows you to report your enrollment information for state-approved CTE programs to the state of Michigan. Again, to access CTEIS, you have to have a My Login username and password. And then again, each building level reporter, if that's the role that you hold, you will focus on completing 3 reports throughout the course of the year. That is the enrollments, the expenditures, and the follow-up. So when you're doing this data, we encourage you to practice good procedures so that your information is entered into the system accurately and timely. So this is just a breakdown of some suggestions on what the process looks like. So when you get your information, you will receive your instructional design from staff. That's your courses, the information regarding staff information, the instructional designs. You should be getting this from your teachers or those who have the information, the course information, administrators, whoever it is that has your course information. You're going to receive that information. You're going to enter in the available courses and student information into CTEIS. And that consists of, if you need to, for verification, you can print class lists to verify and obtain teacher signatures. Again, this is practicing good habits to input your data. So once you receive that information, you want to enter it in accurately and verify it as well as you can to make sure that that information is correct. You're going to run enrollment validations to check for errors. So once you get your information into CTEIS, as we go on in different training sessions, I believe the fall data will cover validation procedures. But what it does is it runs the checks in the system to make sure there aren't any errors in your data, and that's errors, that's systematic errors. But as far as your actual information, you want to make sure that all of your information that you receive from your teachers or administrators regarding classes is accurate. That's something that we don't know. That's something that you have to verify. But as far as the system, you may have errors. You want to make sure that you address the errors once you put your data in. You want to make sure that you address all of your UIC and MSDS data issues. Again, this information can come up when you run those checks once you put in your data, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Again, just practicing good procedures, verifying all your entries by printing class lists or obtaining teachers' signatures to make sure that they're verifying your data before you enter in that information. You want to do this procedure for both the enrollments and expenditures. So you want to make sure you enter and validate all CTEIS expenditures, and then conducting the follow-up survey, using the proper procedures to conduct the follow-up survey and entering in that information as well. So again, there's 3 collection periods: the enrollment, the fall data entry is what we have in September, and then the spring collection is what we complete in June. The expenditures begin in September and complete in November, and then the follow-up begin in October and complete in January. So the primary goals and functions of CTEIS is you want to collect your CTE enrollment data to determine your 61A1 and 61B fund distribution. You want to collect the data required for federal Perkins reporting. So this information that you have when you put in all of your data for your classes and your programs, that information is used to generate funding, and that's getting into the expenditures report. But you want to make sure that all of that information is accurate so that you get the correct funding and you're entering in the correct program information for the success of CTE programs. The secondary goal of CTEIS is to link your CTE data, information housed within the MSDS, and monitor the effectiveness of CTE programs. Again, the information that you input into CTEIS is used to determine funding for your programs, and it's reported to the federal government. So CTEIS is an application that you don't need any additional software or updates. You can access CTEIS anywhere via computer or internet connection. And then all the information will be reported to the state once you submit that information through the application, and you don't need to back up any of your files. All of that information is housed within the system. So that was an overview of CTEIS. We're going to go over the CTEIS process. So as I stated a couple different times this morning, the average building level reporter is tasked with entering in the data for your students, your courses, and your teachers into CTEIS. This picture here is it's just a depiction of how that process would work. So you're going to collect your data. Again, that's going to be from your teachers, your instructors, or your administrators, whoever it is that gives you your course data, or your expenditure data from your student management systems. You will collect that data. You're going to verify that data using your verification processes. We suggest processes that you use, but you may have systems that are already in place with people that you work with or those who help you determine this instructional design for your courses, but you want to verify your data. You're going to input your data into the system, and then you're going to complete and submit your reports. So that's the CTEIS process. We break up the collection of data. Again, we suggest and oversuggest the importance of entering in accurate data. And each report requires the collection of specific data. So, in general, the enrollment reports center around your instructor data, your course data, and your student demographics. The expenditure reports are specifically for expenditures, the funds that you use to operate your CTE programs. So, that's what your expenditure data will consist of. And then the follow up report requires for you to interview post high school students to obtain the information of the strengths and weaknesses of the individual CTE programs. So there's a system here, and just following the system, that's how the collection processes work throughout the whole year. As I mentioned earlier, building reports, as you enter in all of this data, CTEIS generates reports. Those building reports can help assist you with your data collection. So if you want to review reports of information that's already been put in, you can do that by accessing the report section of the application. Again, you do need login information to access the building reports. So you would log into CTEIS and go to the reports menu, and then you can generate reports and exports that you can use to look over your information or look over course information. And I'll show you where that information is in the demo in just a few minutes, or towards the end of this training. We'll go through a demo of how to get logged in and where this information is located. So all of the information that you input, it's organized in several useful ways. You can save it, export it, or print it. And all of this is just collecting the data to make sure that you're not overwhelmed, and you're using, again, the correct processes to get accurate information and enter accurate information into the system. So after you collect your data, you want to verify your data. And this is just additional information on how to, or suggested information on how to submit, I'm sorry, to verify your data. So your data quality refers to the data that is accurate and correct. It's reliable. The data was collected using standard and consistent procedures. Again, each time you have the collection periods, you're collecting the data the same way so that you're not leaving anything out. And then timely, the data was submitted within the appropriate time frame, and we gave the due dates that we have for the upcoming collections. When obtaining your data, you want to make sure that you observe all the laws and regulation regarding confidentiality to protect your information. Again, you want to make sure that you've adapted a procedure and follow that same procedure throughout all of the collection processes. So this is just a breakdown of that. And this will just allow you to input and submit your processes smoothly. Okay. You want to go to the source. Again, I mentioned that if that source is your administrators or your CTE instructors, you want to make sure that you have that information. Utilizing instructional designs, or if you're still using segments, there are segment forms. I can show you where that information is, but you want to get all of the information for your courses as well as your expenditures. And you want to go to the source that is closest to the actual information. So this just gives a breakdown of that, whoever that representative is. When you're collecting your data, you want to make sure you're asking the right questions. Do all course sections appear in my report, and are they correct? Is the beginning month correct? Once you start inputting your courses, you want to make sure that the dates and end dates are correct. The semester types, instructors are properly assigned to courses. Once you start entering in your student information, you want to make sure that your student records are appearing in CTEIS. And then you want to make sure that your students are progressing towards student advancement. So that's one of the main things that you want to make sure this is the success of your programs, that all your students are progressing towards student advancement. And then you want to make sure that they're receiving the appropriate segments or competencies, depending on whether it's a P4 or P5 course, that one that still uses segments or one that uses competencies. You want to make sure that when you enter in the data, everyone's getting the appropriate assignment or the appropriate information, data collection, and making sure that you're avoiding miscalculations. You want to make sure that your programs are designed to include all 12 segments or competencies. So that's why it's important to ask questions and verify. Once you start looking at those instructional designs and the designs of the programs, you want to make sure that it hits all of these components. So your data verification summary, all of this again is just verifying your data. You want to make sure that your program data is accurate. As I stated, data errors can be a common problem, but what we can't determine at PTD, or if you enter into the CTEIS application, what's wrong, all we can look at is what's wrong entered into the system. So there may be a system error, but you want to make sure that all of your information is correct from the design aspect. So you want to make sure that you're providing, collecting, entering, verifying, and compiling your data using instructional manuals that are available. I went through that information on the support site. So all of those instructional manuals are available for you to use as reference. You want to utilize the CTEIS reports that are available within the CTEIS application. As I stated, you have to have a CTEIS login to access reports. You want to use the terminology documents. I showed that we have links available in this module. I'll show you where the glossary is in just a moment. Your data collection techniques, you want to make sure that all of those stay consistent, that when you're getting all of your classes together, you follow the same procedures, enter that information in accurately, and then submit it on time. It is suggested that as we go forward into our fall data training, you will see that we suggest using imports rather than manual entry. But again, that's your preference. But we would suggest that you utilize the importing tools that are available to import your data. So that way you can verify your information before you submit it into the system. You want to check your data for accuracy prior to submission. So you just, again, check, check, check. That's the main focus point here, is to make sure that your information is accurate. And using the CTEIS validation tool to verify and check for errors and warnings to make sure that your information is accurate. And then you're going to input your data. Again, the data entry methods for each particular collection may be different, but you want to follow the same procedures for gathering your data and inputting your data into the system. And we'll get into those specifics on each collection in just a minute. Once you input your data, you're going to complete and submit your reports. So we're going to go through how to complete and submit your reports. That information will be more in the fall data entry training on how we actually complete and submit reports, but we'll do an overview of how to look at the information and the validation tools and then submit We'll just show an overview of that. But utilizing the validation tool, you can utilize that, run your data, and check it as often as necessary. And then when it's close to that due date, you want to make sure that you get that information in by submitting. So as a building level reporter, you will enter in that information, run the validation. Once you submit your information, that information will be transferred to your fiscal agent. Your fiscal agent will then do a review of your information, again, all three collections, whether it's enrollments, expenditures, or follow-up. They will do a review of those, and then they will send it to the CPID administrator. Once the information is okayed by the CPID administrator, that information will then be transferred to OCTE. So again, just really trying to drive home the actual process of entering in your data and how important it is to collect accurate data, making sure that you adapt a process, stick to that process, and then input that information and submit. So that's the main purpose of the process here, is to outline how that information works. Again, collect, verify, input, and then complete. So as I stated, these are the collection periods coming up in the fall. You have your fall enrollment data that you're going to submit. I believe, again, that date is October 12th. So in preparation for the spring enrollment report, as I stated earlier, the spring enrollment report contains all of the course information, course and programs, work-based learning, and credentials. For fall enrollment, we just need you to enter in your courses and your staff, as well as your courses and your staff. So as you enter in that information, if you enter when you get that information from your CTE instructors or your administrators, you want to start entering in that information as soon as possible. So that's the number one: obtain instructional designs of courses. The instructional design templates are also available. I can show you where those are, but again, templates for Perkins 4 or Perkins 5 instructional designs. You can download those and use that information to collect your data. But once you collect that information, you want to, number two, enter in the new courses for the upcoming year. So again, this is what we're doing for fall. So whether you're renewing previous year courses for the current year, we'll demonstrate that information in our fall data training, or if you're adding new courses for the given year, deactivating courses that will not be used again. Again, suggesting that you import new courses using the import templates rather than manual entry may be helpful depending on the caseload of the data that you're working with. Imports may be useful to you. So that's a link for import templates. And most importantly, you want to be sure that you enter in the correct segments or competencies for each course and segment. So adding in your information once you obtain your information for courses, we need your staff. You need to assign them to a specific course. And again, as I stated, begin adding enrollments as able. But for the October 12th date, you only have to have courses and staff. Enrollments are not required for the fall data entry submission. Again, that additional information, which is your segment and competency profiles, your final staff assignments, your enrollments, work-based learning, and credentials, that's all due in June. Another document talking about the best practices for data entry. Again, we suggest using imports. using the import tools that are available in the knowledge base may be very useful. You want to review. And then submit that information. So again, for the fall data entry, that training information is available. If you haven't registered, please do so. But the fall data is just course and staff, and you enter that information in and submit to your CPIN administrator by October 12th, and then to OCTE by October 19th. Just to give a overview of expenditures, again, this is due in November, but training begins in October. The expenditure reports basically outlines the funds for your courses, for your CTE courses. So for your 61A1, your 61B, and your 61C, as well as state and other sources, the expenditure report reflects the actual cost of operating CTE programs. So you want to make sure that you have that information. You may not hold that role. You do need to check with your level 5 fiscal agent on your credentials and your access information. Everyone may not have an expenditures role, but if you have an expenditures role, you will collect your CTE program expenditure information. Again, this is going to be October, November. You're going to be doing this. We will get into this more in depth in our expenditures training, but you can create distribution tables to distribute your expenditures across various programs. Same as with enrollments, you can enter and import your expenditure data. You need to validate that information and then complete and submit. So all of the procedures for all 3 collection periods throughout the year follow the same procedures, but you just want to make sure the information that you enter in is accurate. So again, data collection for expenditures begin in September, and it's due to your CPID administrator in November. So CPID administrator November 2nd, and due to OCTE November 9th. But training begins in October. Again, I'll show you where that information can be found. But this is just an overview of expenditures. An overview of the fall follow-up, or I would just say follow-up. So again, follow-up is the process when you survey previous students, those who have completed and left the program. You're going to follow up with them. This is just a survey that you can, it's done 2 ways. You can interview students directly by using phone interviews, or you can have them fill out a self survey where they interview themselves. But this process is done in November, and that information is due in January. But what this does is it generates the information. Okay. So what this does is it generates the information to make sure that the programs are successful. So it help assist the career and technical education CTE programs to make sure that they are holding jobs after leaving high school. So it's designed to gather information needed to help students, parents, and administrators make decisions related to CTE programs and prepare the students to hold jobs after leaving high school. So what they do is they take that information from the follow-up surveys and they compile their information to determine the success of CTE programs. So as a building level instructor, if this is the role that you have, you will complete your follow-up surveys through from I believe the information goes out sometime in November. I'm sorry, October. Will you receive your follow-up packet? That packet will have all of the details that you need to complete your follow-up surveys. We also have follow-up training. As I stated, that follow-up training begins in November, but in the follow-up training, we will outline all of the information that you need to have and do all the processes that you need to do to submit those reports in January. So again, this information is found on this follow-up overview. All of the information that I'm going over today is found on our CTEIS knowledge base, and that is support.cetis.com. And we're here down at the follow-up task overview. We've already overviewed the fall enrollment, the expenditures, and then the follow-up. Just an overview of spring. So as we stated with our fall data, the spring collection is the collection of all of your information for your CTE programs regarding your courses, your programs, your work-based learning, and your credentials. I said your enrollments. So that information is completed mid-June, and CTIS system will use this data you enter to determine your student counts, your student advancement statuses, and the students your follow-up personnel will contact the next year. So that's why this information is really important, because entering in this information helps the rest of the process throughout the year. So just like with the fall data, this is just suggestions on how to collect your information, how to verify your information. Some of the information that you may come in contact with, again, will be different from your fall data, because your fall data collection is only course and staff, but your spring collection is all of the information pertaining to your programs. So this is just the best practices for data entry. And it's the same information as we stated for our fall data. So I won't go over that information. But this is here for you to review, because you may find that entering in that information leading up into the fall, into the spring may be important. You may not want to wait. You may want to start collecting your information and validating as soon as possible. So we encourage you to look over this and get prepared. Training for spring enrollment is usually done March, April, but this information is here for you to look at just in case you want to get a head start on on entering in your information and importing your documents. So we went over the CETIS data collections overview. We broke down the fall enrollment. We talked about expenditures. We briefly talked about the follow-up tasks, and then looking forward to the spring collection. So now we're going to talk about submission processes. I've been talking about submitting your data and running the validation. So this is a document that breaks that down. So as you enter in your information and submit it into the system, again, once you log in, submit that information into CETIS. This is an example of the fall course completion collection screen. So once your data is entered, you will go to the completion pages, and it will kind of look like this. What you do then is you enter, you can view your building, or you can export your material if you want to review your data offline to make sure everything is accurate. according to your program structure, your instructional designs. And then once you have that information, as you can see over here, all that information is entered in, you can complete. Now, again, this complete only shows up if there's no errors in your data. Again, errors are things that are entered into the system wrong systematically. As far as your data being inaccurate, you want to make sure that you're entering in accurate data. So once your courses are error free, you can use the complete button to submit. So when I say running the validation, that's the process. So what you're doing is you're viewing the building, that's running the validation. If any errors are in your data, once you hit this view building, it will appear. You need to address those errors, make sure that all of that information is correct. And then if it's correct, you can go ahead and complete that building. Warnings may appear in your validation as well. If warnings appear, it does not prevent you from completing your building, but you want to adhere to warnings to make sure that your information is accurate. And again, we will go more into detail about this in our fall data training that starts on Thursday. If you haven't signed up for fall data training, please do so. But we will demonstrate how to actually run the validation in the fall data training. So as a building level reporter, once you submit your data, it is then transferred to the fiscal agent. And they will then submit to the CPIT admin. So there's a process. It goes building reporter, fiscal agent, CPIT admin. And that's how the process works for all of the collection processes. These next two sections just talks about viewing your reports. Again, running the validation by clicking the view button and then submitting your reports. Once you have run the validation and it comes back with no errors, you can then submit. Okay, so we are to our CTEIS reports. As I stated, the information that you enter into the system generates CTEIS reports. The CTEIS reports are available by using your My Login and accessing CTEIS. We do also, or there is also offered public reports. Public reports are just that, public reports, and you can view that information by visiting reports.ctis.com. So when you log in, you have specific information pertaining to your buildings and your programs and your students. That information is available by login at ctis.com. Public reports are available for your use if you want to review your information on a public level. So this is a breakdown of all of the public reports available at report.ctis.com. So we have state aid funding reports, Perkins performance evaluation reports, CTE enrollment reports, follow-up surveys, program course reports, and then work-based learning and credentials. All of these reports are available. What you can do is go to reports.ctis.com, view this information. Again, it's available without a login. We also have the CTE dashboard reports. The dashboard reports are available at analytics.ctis.com. Again, this reports these reports do not require login credentials. And this is a breakdown of what's found on the CTEIS dashboards. So just to show you what that looks like, I'm going to just navigate there, and then we're going to go into our demonstration of how to log in. Just 1 second. Okay, so this is the dashboards. If you go to analytics.cetus.com, you can hover over and look at the information that has been entered in. Again, these reports are generated by all of the data that you enter into CETIS, so that it gives you an idea of how the data is broken up. You can go through and make your selections. And you can do the same thing by going to reports.cetus.com and specifically entering in the criteria. So these reports are available for public use. And that's what this document is breaking down, all of the reports that are available for public use. Okay. And again, this information is all found on our knowledge base at support.cetus.com. This is the new user information section. I'm just going to go back to our home screen to show where we are. This is the home page of support.cetus.com. You can hover over data entry and select enrollment. And then this is a breakdown of all of our resource documents. This is the new user information section. This is where I'm coming from. If you select this link here, you'll be taken to the information that I'm sharing in training this morning. So we went through our support and assistance. We went through our My Login access instructions, current due dates, as well as knowledge base overview, just to show you where all of the resource information is. We went over our CTEIS overview. Again, that was the breakdown of all of the collections that you would have. There are 3 collection periods that we are completing during the course of the year. That is enrollment, expenditures, and follow-up. The CTEIS process is how we break down our information. We collect our data, we verify our data, input our data, and then complete and submit our reports. That's the process for all of the collections. Although the data in the actual collection may vary, the process is still the same. As I was stating earlier, you may not have specific roles depending on what your access level is. So this here is a breakdown of roles and access. I've mentioned a couple of different times today, CPID administrator. The CPID administrator, this role is assigned by OCTE and grants user access to CPID administrator tasks. These include submitting new program requests, viewing submitted reports, and prioritizing CPID options. I mentioned that CPID options was due in May. So if you're a CPID administrator, that would be a role that you would have. If you are a fiscal agent, each fiscal agency appoints 2 fiscal agency authorized officials who manage all building level reporters within the fiscal agency. Fiscal agents, authorized officials, are granted level 5 access to CTEIS and are responsible for delegating access to buildings under their control. So when I mentioned about the My Login access and having to contact your level 5, this is the individual who will give you your access. So if you have questions regarding your access, you need to contact your level 5. If you're not quite sure, that information can be transferred to OCTE, and Joan Church may be able to help you with that. That's a policy related question. So that's a fiscal agent. A building reporter. This role allows users to access all data entry activities related to the funding of CTE programs. So tasks that you would have would include inserting, updating, and editing data related to classes, students, teachers, enrollments, and grades. As I stated, for the fall data entry, only course and staff information is required. So if you're a building reporter, course and staff information is due to your CPID administrator October 12th. If you have not signed up for training, we would encourage you to do so for fall data training. Again, that starts on Thursday, and I'll show you where you can look at that information if you haven't signed up already. But that's what you would do as a building level reporter. So you would have the enrollments if you have access to expenditures, and if you have access to follow-up, and then you have your spring enrollment report. So that's what the building level reporter would be responsible for completing if you have all of those access, or if you have that access. If you have the expenditures role, this role allows the users to access the expenditures section of CTEIS. It allows you to enter expenditure data, run the validation, and view various expenditure reports. So expenditures is due in November. The expenditure training takes place in October. So if you have an expenditures role, we would encourage you to sign up for training so that you'll have the information you need to submit that report in November. If you have a follow-up data entry role, this role allows you to enter the follow-up section. I talked about this a little bit earlier, and that's when you survey concentrators or completers for the success of CTE programs. That follow-up packet comes out I think it comes out in October. I don't know the specific date, but that follow-up packet will have all of the materials that you need to conduct your follow-up surveys. And training for follow-up begins in November. When you actually have completed all of your follow-up surveys and completed your report, that report is due in January. So this here is just a breakdown of the roles. So it shows you at the outside level here, OCTE is the Office of Career and Technical Education. Your CPID is located right up under OCTE. So as I stated, it goes from the building level reporter to the fiscal agent to the CPID to the Office of Career and Technical Education. And again, the building level reporters are responsible, again, if you have access, the enrollment, the expenditures, and the follow-up. All of those reports are submitted from the building reporter to the fiscal agent, who then supports it to the CPID and then to OCTE. Just some more terminology. The CPID is the district, the career education planning district. On the outside level, the fiscal agency, the operating agency, and then the operating building. So just as the process was with the building reporter, that information kind of goes the same way and makes up the geographic building. So when you see that information on your reports, if you see OB, you know that's the operating building or the sending building. If you see OA, it's the operating agency, the fiscal agency, and the CPID. For programming, when you're putting in your courses, you will notice that you will see a CSC, which stands for course section code. This course could also have subsections, which consist of segments or competencies, depending on the type of course it is. So if you see subsection, that's what it's referring to, the CSC. If the course is a early middle college or a regular course, that goes under the program type. So all of this is related to course. The course is found within the program. So if you see PSN, that is the program serial number. So you would see a PSN and then a CSC. So that's the course within the program. The zip code is the classification of instructional programming. So that kind of is the outside level. So when you see all of these terms, you'll know what the breakdowns are. And then the career cluster. So all of these are organized to kind of fit and identify each underneath to make up your classes and your programs. As we stated when I was talking about the level 5 fiscal agent, this diagram shows what the access level of a level 5 may include. We kind of went through the verbal information a little bit earlier, but this is just kind of like a graphical breakdown. So it shows that all of the roles and all of the access that the level 5 has. So again, if you have questions regarding your access level, you need to contact your level 5. The level 4 has the access to review reports, enter and edit data. And then if they have any questions, again, they need to contact the level 5. The level 5 will assign all of the roles here. Any questions regarding that? And again, if you don't know who that is, we ask that you contact OCTE. It shows your level 3, your level 2, and your level 1, but this is how it works. So when you, as a building reporter, when you are granted access, it's granted by the level 5. When you submit your reports, you want to submit your reports to your fiscal agent. And then your fiscal agent will submit to your CPIT. So now that we know our roles in access, as I've been talking about, this is just a timeline that breaks down all of the reports. And if you have access, who completes the expenditure report? When is it due? I kind of went through this information, but this information is available for your review. For the fall data entry, again, just courses and staff who would submit this information, the follow-up survey, who completes and who submits, and then the enrollment and completion report in the spring, who completes and when it's due. I believe I stated earlier that there is a glossary of terms. This is the glossary. So all of the terms that we use, you can look up that information here. As I stated, if you see OB, it's the operating building. So all of that information is available. We're going to go down to this section here, terms of student advancement for reporting. You may see that there's the levels of student advancement. You may see enrollee. This is what defines an enrollee, a participant, a concentrator, and a completer. This is terms of student advancement for funding. Again, enrollee, participant, concentrator, and then concentrator plus. So when you see those terms, you want to make sure that you have an understanding of who that's referring to, and this information breaks down according to what they have completed. So, for instance, an enrollee, this student has completed with a grade of 2.0 or better course sections covering fewer than 4 segments of a CTE program. The equivalent is the Perkins 5, or if it, again, your classes may be Perkins 4 or Perkins 5. For Perkins 5 course competency, less than 1 PCC, Perkins core competency. So that's an enrollee, and the same for participant and concentrator. But again, this information is available. This is just a reflection of what was provided by OCTE. And if you have questions regarding policy, you need to contact OCTE. So we went through all of our information on our new user homepage. These are training videos that are available if you're in the application and you need to review. So all of these links link to videos that are on our knowledge base that you can use to view the information. The new user training agenda that I shared at the beginning of training is here. And then once we upload the recording of this webinar, it's going to be located here for your review. So all of this information is available. Please utilize these resources for all of the information pertaining to the enrollment collections or the 3 reporting collections throughout the year, the enrollments, the expenditures, as well as the follow-up. So now I'm going to navigate to the CTEIS application just to show how to log in. So I'm going to change my screen. So this is the training site. This site mirrors the actual CTEIS application. The actual not to confuse anyone, but the actual CTEIS application looks like this. And it's still basically the same, but we're using the training site because when using the training site, it doesn't mess up the actual data that's in the system. So I've been granted access to this training site for demos. So I'm not actually going into actual data. So all of this data is obfuscated as well as for training purposes. So it mirrors the actual site. The login over here, it says test CTEIS, but over here you would see it say my login or login using my login. So again, this is a training site. I've been given credentials as a building reporter to log in. So if you have a building reporter role, this is what you would see. So this is the home page. The important dates are listed here for your convenience for all of the due dates, the fall course and staff, expenditures follow-up. And then as we get into the spring reporting, that information is there. Just a couple of announcements here available just to keep you up to date on what's going on as far as the upcoming training. These links here will link you to the actual knowledge base and those specific collection periods. So if you need imports or templates, you can click this general tab and it'll take you to the the home page of the knowledge base. If you want to view follow-up links, you can click this, expenditures and enrollment. So these again are here for your convenience. Same thing for training information and CTEIS reports. So if you hover over data entry or click data entry, as a building level reporter, this is my access. So you see I have enrollment, follow-up, and expenditures. So I have been granted all of these roles as a building level reporter. So when expenditures roll around, I have the access to enter in expenditure data. When follow-up rolls around, I have the access to enter in follow-up data. So this is all of the screens to enter in students, to enter in courses, to import courses. If I want to edit or renew courses in mass, I can do that using these 2 links. When we get closer to spring, manage enrollment. Again, that's not due for fall, but your enrollments. Your staff, you may want to take a look at different staff information. This is for importing student and enrollments. So that's a importing link. Credentials, work-based learning, and then this is the two links for your submission. So enrollment completion, and then your fall. Again, we will get more into this as we do our fall data training. Fall data training begins on Thursday. And that information, I'll show you where to sign up just as we, right before we dismiss from training. So that's all of the links here. Again, we'll go through that information as we, specific to the training topic. Reports, I stated reports are available with login. So once you log in, you can access building reports, follow-up reports, funding reports. All of this information is here. I have access to it. And additional information here, depending on when that information is available. If you go over here and just to bring your attention here, once you log in and you see it should be your name here. Of course, it says test CTEIS because this is a training site, but this should give you some district information depending on your role. So it shows that the CPIT is 18. The fiscal agent name is Breckenridge. This is the building that I have access to. And this is the contact information that is available. So if I have questions, I can contact this person or this person. It gives me the telephone number as well as their emails. And it tells me the buildings that they oversee. So when you log in, yours may look a little different, but it's similar. So this is another way to find your CPIT and your fiscal agent information by clicking on your name. That information is available. It'll also appear up here. Your CPIT would appear up here. So you would see your CPIT name, your CPIT phone, and then the email. So that information may be useful if you need to contact someone. Say, for instance, when you're entering in your data as a building reporter, you submit your data. CTEIS will attempt to contact your fiscal agent, but you may want to get your fiscal agent contact information so you can send that information, shoot them an email. Oh, hey, I sent in the report or the report was submitted. That way they know that information is there. Again, CTEIS will attempt to do that, but we would encourage you to do that as well. So your contact information is found by clicking on your name here. Okay. So again, using your My Login, if you have not gained access to My Login, you need to contact your fiscal agent and then sign up for My Login using the My Login third-party site, and then you'll have access to CTEIS. So we're back to our home page, and we've covered all of our information. So again, just a breakdown, all of the resource, the support. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the CTEIS Help Desk. That email is here as well as the telephone number. If you're having technical issues, please feel free to contact the CTEIS Help Desk. If you have policy questions, we ask that you directly relate those questions to OCTE, and that representative is Joan Church. Her email and telephone number is here as well. Looking into the, if you haven't, I do want to make note of this. If you have not signed up for listserv, that is the emails that are useful in getting updates on system updates or training information, newsletters. You want to reach out to Jackie Martinez to be included on the listserv. So please reach out to her if you're not already included. And all of this information is found by hovering over the data entry and clicking enrollment. When you click enrollment, there's a new user information tab here. And this is where all of the reference documents is that we went over here in training. All of the overviews of the upcoming collections, as well as the submission processes, the public reports that are available, and then training videos. As I stated, the training that is coming up, the next section is the fall data entry training. So that begins on the 14th, and then expenditures begins in October, and then follow up. I do apologize. I said November, but it begins in October. That report is due in January. So please sign up for the next upcoming trainings if you have not done so already. You can do that by hovering over training and going to registration and general info. This is just another way to get to the training videos that I shared earlier that are at the bottom of the new user homepage, but you can use any of this information. We have our newsletters. When we do put out newsletters, all of these links are available for you to use. So we're just going to end here for today. I'm going to thank you for your time and attention. Again, all of this information is available. And I'll stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions or need to find reference documents or where they're located. I can do that. But this concludes our training for today. And we will see you all in the next training session. Again, fall data training starts on Thursday. And we will see you next time. So I'll stay on for a few minutes, but this concludes the training for today. Thank you. See you all next week or Thursday. Thank you all. Okay, there's a question. I can't unmute. If it's a question that you may be able to contact the help desk if you need to talk it through. Okay. Okay. If it's a policy related, yes, you do need to reach out to OCTE for policy related questions. Oh, sure. Yeah, I can show you that. So instructional design forms, if you go to data entry here and go to enrollment, so data entry and go to enrollment. Under special collections, there's Perkins 4 and Perkins 5 instructional design templates. And there have been a few new, but yeah. I was in a link for the instructional design form, but only Perkins. What are we talking about in here? So the instructional design, okay, let's go back here. So this Perkins right here, this one is this here. This is Perkins 4 that still uses segments. And this is the paper instructional design here. That's a Perkins 4 that still uses segments. The Perkins 5, we don't have the paper forms. It is, let's go back, dependent upon program, and that information is in Excel. So if you look at Perkins 5 here, it's by program. Okay, great, great.